EMCEE Valerie and all of you who have joined us today. Thank you to the family of Dr. Franklin honoring us with your presence. Secretary Foxx, thank you, and Valerie and the team at the Department of Transportation, Secretary Jim Trockin, we have David Howard and Hal Austin and Michael Foxx. Thank you for doing this. And I'm grateful for this great Durham legislative delegation that you send to work with me in Raleigh. The dean of your delegation, Mickey Michaud, who is here, along with Representatives Marsha Morey and Representative Mary Ann Black, Senator McKissick, and Senator Mike Woodard. Thank you for what you do. And I want to thank you for inviting me to honor this man who has done so much to improve our state. And a man who has really laid the groundwork for the mission that I have for our state. That mission is, at the end of my term as governor, I want a North Carolina where people are better educated, where they're healthier, where they have more money in their pockets, and they have the opportunities to live a more abundant and purposeful life. That's what I want. That's my mission statement.
All right.
And I want to, before I say a few words about Dr. Franklin in this dedication, I do want to thank someone who has worked tirelessly for this city and our state. The mayor for the last 16 years on the Board of County Commissioners. He's guided Durham through a remarkable period where it has become a center for education, medicine, technology, arts and culture, and more. I know it's been done before, but I want you to join me in thanking Mayor really awe-inspiring to see so many people gathered today for this highway dedication. There are some truly great leaders, not only on this stage, but out in the audience. And most all of them would tell you that in some way, Dr. John Hope Franklin has had an effect on their lives, whether through knowing him or through his writings. A lifetime dedicated to the betterment of others takes true passion, selflessness, and determination. It's really rare to come across an individual so willing to give of themselves over to that kind of service, and even more rare to have that kind of service performed by someone with such skill, talent, and great intellectual capacity. It's that kind of person that we honor today with this highway dedication, Dr. John Hope Franklin. I think as a result of the work of Dr. Franklin, the America that we live in today is a different place from the one into which he was born in 1915. Growing up in the Jim Crow South, Dr. Franklin saw firsthand and felt personally the horrors of racism. As a young child, he saw Tulsa, Oklahoma's black neighborhoods burn in the 1921 Tulsa riots, and he saw people killed. As he grew up and became a student of history, he saw how racism throughout history affects how we think and act today. Dr. Franklin spent his life showing us that we must not look away from these ugly truths, that we should remember them with unflinching honesty and confront them head on, that we should learn from them. Dr. Franklin elevated the experiences of Black Americans into the fabric of our American society. He worked tirelessly to turn them into real change, and he did. Now, Dr. Franklin knew the difference between history and advocacy. As a scholar, he kept them separate.
All right.
But he also knew that the knowledge of history could be the catalyst for advocacy. In other words, he knew that education inspires change. In 1954, Dr. Franklin helped Thurgood Marshall's team of lawyers form an argument that the racist history of our country was essential to Jim Crow laws, leading to the Brown versus Board of Education decision that began integrating our schools. And throughout his career and with his writings, Dr. Franklin defined the historical background of the civil rights movement, illuminating a path forward toward a brighter future for millions of Americans. He worked personally with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights leaders. He consulted with presidents and received numerous honors, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom and over 100 honorary degrees. Durham and the entire state of North Carolina were blessed to become Dr. Franklin's home later in life. Dr. Franklin taught, led, and broke barriers as an academic at Harvard, at the University of Chicago, and at other academic institutions around the world. But we are personally proud of the work that he did right here at St. Augustine's, at North Carolina Central University, and at Duke University here in Durham. His work forging an unbreakable bond between history and advocacy has helped change the fight against racism. Dr. Franklin knew that the wide gap between the promise of American freedom and the reality faced by so many couldn't be bridged by history alone. He knew advocates and policymakers had to use that knowledge of history in the right ways. And he wielded history as a tool to, as he put it, quote, present the case for change in keeping with the express purpose of attaining the promised goals of equality for all people. Dr. Franklin taught us that only through better understanding of the past can we hope to create the change we wish to see today and tomorrow. We can't forget that lesson. And with the divided world that we live in today, these lessons are as valuable, and maybe even more valuable, than they ever were. Today, we dedicate this highway to Dr. John Hope Franklin to honor the life he led and to remind ourselves and future generations of the value of our whole history, the history of all of us. And as we ride by and we see this road sign, I hope we will pause and think about the history that we ourselves are making right now, and that we need to do it right. We must work diligently to learn from our past, both the good and the bad, the unsanitized and the unvarnished. And we must turn what we learn into positive action.